Hi everyone, welcome to my very first Google Hangout. This is the Goddess channel, and today we are talking about Vipassana's 10-day silent meditation retreat. And my guest today is Blake Roberts. You can hear him singing. Oh my gosh, he went to go fill up water. He's really amazing because he's only 21 years old, and I picked him up in a rideshare on the way to Seattle, actually, and he was only 19 at the time, and we had a long road trip to share. There he is. Hey, I already pressed live, but I don't think. Hello, I don't think that anybody's on. It says 0 viewers.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be, but even if there's 0 viewers, we should still just have the conversation because it is recorded, and then we can use that to share in the future.
I'm super down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
So just, continue our conversation that we were warming up with. But I was telling them that I met you when you were 19 and that we went to, I was on my way to Seattle. So we had a lot of time to be on the road and talk about that experience.
Yeah, we dropped deep.
And actually it was kind of life-threatening, right?
Yeah, there were some scary moments. We definitely slid down a road we shouldn't have, and had to get a gruff man to like pull us out. Remember that?
You're not supposed to go into a parking lot that's filled with snow.
No, I'm not really supposed to do that.
Not supposed to do that in a small passenger car.
Right.
And I remember back then, my form of meditating was just driving and focusing on a line. And
Nice.
I thought, okay, this is meditating. I mean, it is. All of that is forms of meditating. When you're in traffic, you can meditate. When you're walking, you can meditate. When you swim. But what Vipassana actually taught me was subconscious meditation, like the deepest form of subconscious meditation, when you strip away all of those elements, like music, like incense burning, all of those comforts, right?
Right.
I have a meditation music channel, and now, since Vipassana, I meditate with no music, and I try to find a darker room so I can actually, my pupils will get closed, Totally. And so I completely changed the way that I meditate since Vipassana. And I think the other forms of meditation are all nice, but those are all kind of like light forms of meditation, I think, like being in the bath or meditating while swimming. I still lap swim, and anytime you can start to pay attention to your breath is a form of meditation. And so when you're consciously paying attention to your breath, then and even when you're doing something like smoking weed, for some people that is their form of meditation, and they need it in order to access, spirit. And there's, in Hindu culture, you can hear me. Hello.
Yeah, you cut out there for a second. I think you're coming back.
Well, my face is frozen, but
yeah, it's super laggy.
I'll just keep. Okay, now I see you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, in Hindu culture, they smoke. They have this liquid called bhang, and it's totally acceptable for children to use, I guess, THC to access spirit. Have you heard of that?
I didn't know. Yeah, it was that prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all over India.
Yeah, totally. Hash for sure. Yeah, I heard.
And one of the gods, Krishna, he's known as being a stoner.
Really? Krishna Tokes? I had no idea. Cool.
Yes, it is one of them. But Vipassana is one where it's like they want you to strip away all of those comforts.
Yeah.
And get into that. So can you talk about like how meditation changed for you before and after?
Sure. Yeah. Meditation for me before was nothing more than a mindfulness practice, kind of like what you described. The deepest I've gone was just single pointed awareness for maybe half an hour at a time, which in itself is extremely powerful. and can show you, wow, there's a whole nother way of being in a whole nother world, and there's something really real here. And that's what drew me to Vipassana, was just getting a little taste of the void, and of the purification that can happen, and of the innate power within to really strip away. And so I heard about Vipassana from a friend or two. It was dropped in my ear, and then people go to get over breakups, like we were talking about. That was a big catalyst for me as well. You know, my girlfriend of 3 years through high school, I'd left on my road trip hitching around the country, and just really wanted to put the final nail in the coffin. And so I did a bunch of farming, Colorado, New Mexico, and then planned to meet up in Joshua Tree and go deep. Yeah.
You plan to meet up with an ex-girlfriend, or you plan to get over?
No, to meet up with Goenka. Just like...
meet up. Okay. That
yeah,
was your final trip on this. It was like a cleansing journey.
Yeah, it was like an existential, like, I can't do college anymore right now. I had a neuroscience full ride. I still do at University of Oregon. I've been on like a gap year for like 3 years. 3-year gap.
A 3-year gap.
Yeah. But yeah, so just rambling around, exploring consciousness and reality. And Vipassana seemed like the natural step, and it was. And to talk about how it changed me after would be like a 4-hour discussion. But yeah.
So Joshua Tree was one of those. Did it help you?
It was incredibly powerful in so many ways. It really showed me, like you said, that there is a gentler meditation, you know, whole like a field of gentle meditation where you're just doing single-pointed mindfulness, which is extremely powerful in itself. But I like what you said. Vipassana is a subconscious meditation. It's a deep purification practice. It's going into the fire. It's not really. It's not a relaxing retreat, which is one of the biggest misconceptions people have. It is 10 days of some of the most laborious, regimental, hard work that you've ever done in your life. And
totally. And people are like, well, have a really blissful experience, or enjoy your silence. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the biggest fear of my life. I'm totally not even, I wasn't mentally prepared for it, but I really needed to go. And I was magically lifted off of the wait list, and nice. I got an email, and then they said, will you still be on it if we let you know in 2 days? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could drive up in 2 days. Wow. And then I got a subletter who was going to stay in my room in my apartment in LA. And so that seemed like universal synchronicity.
Yeah, wow.
Because I really needed it. I wanted to go, because I had broken up with my partner at least 4 times. So it was not, the third breakup, I guess, I wanted to sign up for a retreat, but there's a long waiting list for women, actually, a longer waiting list for women than there is for men. So I was like, okay, let me just take these steps to sign up for it, and I'm not going to get it. And I think that's the major thing that you have to do if you're thinking about it, is to first go to the website and apply for it.
Yeah.
And read about it and watch.
Just read about it.
Yeah, watch the videos, and then you can chicken out. You can chicken out several times. I know people who have applied, been accepted, and not gone.
Sure.
And if you are that person who is like that, then you're not going to make it through the 10 days. So it's a good filter for that, Like if you don't even make it to the door, then that's another indicator that you're not ready. It's to me a total detox. It's a definite mental reboot that I use, but I was ready to go, and I was scared. I was really, really scared, but I just pushed past all my fears, and I was like, okay, there's no use in being scared during or before. I'll just get scared while I'm in it.
Sure. Hey, whatever gets you there.
Yeah. Were you afraid?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Definitely afraid. Just afraid of what I'd find, digging that deep. I was more excited than I was afraid at the time, to be honest. Because just my age, there's so much youthful energy, and so gung-ho about trying new things, and I do have a lot of self-confidence, and I knew I could do it. I knew I was going to do it. There wasn't a question of that. So, but I think everyone has fear going into the 10 days. It's just a matter of how much and in what way. But yeah.
What do you think your fears? Do you remember what your fears were?
just like an inability to understand like how we could go without looking at each other for 10 days, right? And fear of like the weirdness around that. And but yeah, like I'm sure you found out that's not a hard thing to get into at all. You know, you just do your own thing and let others do their own thing, and then, yeah,
It was really easy, I
it's
found.
super easy. Yeah.
And that was one of my biggest fears. And now that I've done it, I actually don't have that fear anymore, which is great.
Right.
So it's like permanently destroyed that fear. Because I
Yeah.
think that the 10-day silent meditation is probably the most silence amongst people that most people have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they are nuns or they live a different, more devout spiritual lifestyle or some other kind of thing. You know, because I would compare it to jail, you know, and I was like, even in
Yeah.
jail you get to talk, you know, even in jail you get to sing, you know, but it was nothing like jail.
No, I mean, but Goenka even like he uses the metaphor of it being like a jail that you lock yourself up in for 10 days. So I think it's a fair metaphor.
Have you ever been to jail?
I have not been to jail. Well, I picked up people from jail. I've never been
Yeah, the parking lot.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
jail for one night, and I'll tell you that it's nothing like jail.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm sure it isn't.
I mean, the thing is, the difference is self-discipline versus institutionalized discipline.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's making you do something, it's really different than when you yourself are checking yourself in and you're turning in your own guitar, you're turning in your own pen and
Right.
paper. This is something that you know that you want to do. Whereas a lot of people will end up in jail or end up in prison because someone else has arrested them, or they've stolen from someone, or they've done something that they have to, you know, learn their lesson from. And as we know, that doesn't always work, or it doesn't work, you know?
This does not work. Yeah.
It doesn't work, right?
Yeah,
So,
the stats are there. It doesn't work.
I mean, but they do teach Vipassana in prison.
They
So
do.
people
It's really
get to it.
incredible.
They get to it through that. They're like ready. They're like, okay, what can I do? There's, you know, how
There's
can
actually
I be?
there's some incredible documentaries exploring that. Have you checked them out?
No,
Yeah,
what?
like Dhamma Brothers is about like Vipassana being introduced to like um, high, what's it called? Very intense prisons in the South. It's really incredible documentary, and anyone should check out interested in the technique.
Yeah, no, I just made my own little videos, and the one or few videos that I watched, people were basically talking about what's already on the website. So I wanted to do something that was different,
Cool.
where, you know, we touched different things that other people didn't, which is why I wanted Amita to be on this website, because she has spoken out for child sexual abuse survivors a lot, and
Wow.
so I feel comfortable in sharing her story around that. And for me, I have been, you know, a survivor of sexual violence in my adulthood from 17 until, you know, later years. And so
Yeah.
post-traumatic stress disorder is something that I use meditation to deal with, but it's a
Yeah.
very different type of meditation. And like I said, there's so many different forms of meditation, and to learn them all is to your benefit, really. So Vipassana is a great technique to have in your tool belt, along with reciting mantras, doing like I came in with a whole slew of energetic tools because I teach Tantra and I am part of spiritual communities, and we're always meditating on I chant kirtan. And so the acknowledgement of spirit is there for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I felt was really interesting was that there is no acknowledgement of spirit in Vipassana.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first time, I'm meditating in a way that doesn't talk about God or goddess, that doesn't acknowledge light. Um,
At
that
least not with that language.
with that language, yeah. Can you talk about your spirituality and how that was for you? Because for me, it was like this is a whole new type of. I mean, he talks about you start at the crown and
Mm-hmm.
you start your meditation pattern at the top of the head, and that's your crown chakra. He doesn't use chakra or crown chakra, but that's basically what it is, you know.
Yeah.
And so if you have that prior knowledge, then you know. But I tried to just give Vipassana a fair try and take out all of my previous spiritual knowledge and not really like consciously bring in God light, you know, even though
Yeah.
I knew that that's what I was doing.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like Vipassana was breaking down your language. and your conceptions, your cognitive conceptions, and just getting to the core of like what is happening within the physical sensation of the body, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it really helped to expand my definition of spirituality.
And that in turn expanded your definition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I would say that a lot of people are resistant to a lot of the things that I teach, especially Tantra, because Tantra is about the melding of spirit and sexuality. So they're like, oh, I don't believe that God goddess exists. I don't want to even talk about universe or any kind of anything, you know? So they're all agnostic, and, you know, so it's hard for them to get into Tantra.
Yeah.
They resist that.
Sure.
So yeah, so I'm going to go back to that question about your spirituality, and if you can talk about how it's expanded or added to that.
Yeah. Yeah, my spirituality is completely non-dogmatic, very formless. It is, in relation to Vipassana, it is whatever works. Whatever I feel to be true is my spirituality. I use all language. Language doesn't mean anything to me. We can call it source, we can call it God, we can call it goddess, we can call it life, we can call it, you know, it does not matter to me. What I acknowledge is that I am inseparable from everything. I'm working out deep energetic knots that I came into this world with and don't really know where they came from. I'm a being of form, but also formless, you know, and these conceptions and this language only helps me as far as it helps me, you know, just with my path. As alone as a concept, I can let it go in a second, you know. Vipassana really helped me with that, for just tearing things down and seeing what is going on at the existential level. You know, I do have a body. That body is formless. How do I reconcile these two things? And just like working with those axioms of being, those like fundamental, starting points from which to come off with. I like to hang out with the fundamentals, you know, with the ground levels of what is happening, you know. So yeah.
What do you consider the fundamentals?
I have a body. That body is formless.
Okay. So
I am
physical presence.
Yeah, just it's very like I am form, you know, coming from void. I am an individual that's also like inseparate from everything, and just working with those things and trying to bring more love and letting go and surrender into my life. And yeah, I think everyone really is doing that. We just use different language. I think the language gets in the way a lot of the time. I think most people will admit they're spiritual beings if you use the right language that appeals to them. You know, we are so triggered by God and goddess and by prana and chi and all these.
They are.
We're so triggered. It's really funny. We have to.
Even saying universe, they don't like it. You know, like that's become this new trendy word.
Yeah, it's part of this new age version. Yeah.
And I've been deeply involved in that community since I met you, more into the, you know, the Tantra community. Cool. And it was really interesting when I went to, when I was on my road trip to Seattle, I felt like you were a god.
I know, you really defined me. It's funny.
Well, because the person, well, I think that God lives in all divine masculines. God, goddess is in all of us.
Absolutely.
So when I say that, I can see the divine masculine in you. It's really, and that's evident that you're on this call, and I think that you are divine, you know. That is a high compliment, you know, like, and that you
so much.
You still radiate that. Absolutely. Aww. Yeah. And we need that more. And you're only 21 years old. Oh my goodness. You know, like, how great. Cool. how lucky and wonderful will the world be for the next 50 years or whatever, 60 years. Because the person who was going to be sharing my ride before that was completely abusive.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, wow. So who comes next after that person? I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to go by myself and pay my own gas. I don't need company, you know?
Totally.
And then here comes you, and you're like last minute-ish, actually. I was like...
So last minute. Like, I was like, I told my aunt and uncle, gotta go, grab my bag, and like, jump out. It was so funny.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm leaving now. Come get me in Berkeley. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then just different things like near-death experiences or having to sleep an extra day in Oregon because, you know, the snow was too thick and I didn't have the right tires or enough money, and just taking a huge risk to get to Seattle for me. And then after I dropped you off and I went to Seattle, I had a great time there. I actually made a lot of money, and I really reaffirmed my my tantra practice there, and really stepped further into my goddessness. So a lot of that has been really like synchronicity, I think, and just, you know, acknowledging of spirit and feeling guided and blessed. And then in the last 2 years, just kind of falling off the horse, you know, like just feeling like, okay, nothing makes sense. That I'm not feeling that same synchronicity because I just kind of had a really tough relationship, and you know, not feeling like anything spiritual is really working out for me, like that. Even if I don't feel as blessed anymore, and I don't feel as guided, because obviously this is not working. And no matter how much I kind of chant and pray towards these goals, I don't feel like any of that is really, like, just big fears in my life. Like, you know, I'm almost 40, I'll be 40 next year, but just feeling like actually you actually can get none of what you want. And that was this big fear, you know, like you could work really hard to want to have a relationship. You can work really hard to want to have a child, to want to, you know, be successful in your art and your music, and you can get none of that.
Right.
And that you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
It seems like, you know, like, so that's the spiritual jargon that people are always talking about, that, you know, you're always, whatever you get, whatever cards you get, that's, you know, you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I just was not ready to accept that. And I'm still not. Like, I still have resistance. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. No, I don't like where I am, you know? So no, I'm not exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm just like, fuck, you know, I'm always trying to change where I am.
And how does that tie in with Vipassana's lesson of impermanence?
God, you
right?
know?
Because I'm sure that that conception totally crashed with like what Vipassana, what Goenko is trying to transmit. You know?
I think the synchronicity, like I said, happened where it's like there was a couple green lights where I'm off the waiting list. I don't have to pay rent, you know? So I always have enough money. You know, even traveling with you, I have barely enough money, but then you're paying, you know, you're giving me gas money, so that gives me just enough money to get where I need to go. Like, just enough, you know? Like, oh yes, we're stranded in Oregon, but if you split the hotel room with me, then I can afford it. You know, like, I have just enough. And I think
those two words, just enough, just feel so powerful to me right now.
Does it? Okay.
That could be a mantra in itself. Just enough. Just enough, you know?
And I think that's kind of my assignment. I have to learn to be okay with that. I'm like, no, but I want more. I want to be abundant, right? So when people tell you, you have plenty, you're abundant, you have more than enough, look at all these gifts and all of this stuff. And I'm like, you know, like, doesn't look like that. But I think, I mean, how it ties into Vipassana is like, everything is subtle, actually. It's subtle. It's less like, woohoo, you know, than some of the Tantra techniques where I teach people to feel love energy, and I exchange love energy with them, and they fall in love with me. And so we fall in love with each other. So it's really, really blissful.
Yeah, Tantra is blissful.
Yeah, and we have energetic orgasms, and orgasms are explosive, right? Oh. But you're not having any of those in Vipassana. You're actually not even
supposed to.
You're not even masturbating.
Some people are. I have some stories around that.
Oh, really? How do you know? You must talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, through serving, you exchange all these stories, but people do it. It's rare, but it happens. People hook up, and people get caught with themselves in the bathroom, and
wow, how do they hook up? How do they do that?
I know, it's pretty crazy, but like sneak out to the middle of the campus in the middle of the night. I don't know. I have no idea, but it does happen. They
don't know each other? They're not couples?
No, I think they're probably couples that are just like, I can't take it any longer. Meet me under the pavilion or something. Yeah, I have no idea. But.
Yeah, I would imagine if you went with your partner that you could find a way to maybe make it happen. I don't know, but I didn't really think that you could really do that with a stranger, because like that's even harder than meeting someone in a bar. Don't you think?
Yeah, I'd almost applaud that if that happened. Like,
I know, that would be like, wow, how did you don't even have eye contact.
Right.
Curtain between the male sex and the female sex. So
yeah.
Yeah, I had my period when I was in there.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so 5 of the 10 days I'm in pain.
Whoa.
really horny and I'm really emotional.
Yeah.
So that was really hard for me because I'm like super emotional. And the way that I personally deal with my period pain is to masturbate.
Sure.
But I guess I have just like a really, I have a lot of self-discipline. I have a lot of respect for spiritual places, I guess. So I just had to kick that in where it's like, okay, I don't want to masturbate on your bed or in your sacred space because you told me not to. And I just
Right.
respect that. But I know that people don't go in with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was extremely horny as well. Like I think everyone runs into it. Like it's a matter of how much and for how long. But in every Vipassana retreat I've gone to, it's a 100% of the time a topic after is how horny were the guys. It's a total thing every male sits through is just like these images and these sounds and these desires and
Wow.
yeah, and I just have my story of just having met like my current partner of 3 years. Like I had just met her 3 days before, so that was the hardest thing I was working through is just this second chakra energy like
And
coursing through.
also like having longing,
Yeah,
craving, craving for every aspect of her.
it is so much more than just carnal primal. It's so hard and just like that affection and that yeah partnership. Yeah.
You hadn't even gotten into a relationship at that time. You had just met.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
just
talk about how you guys met. Tell us your Vipassana love story.
all right. So on my way from Albuquerque to Joshua, I was on my way from Albuquerque to Joshua Tree on an Amtrak, and while on the train, I bumped into a girl that was going to the very same center, but the retreat after mine. And the train got delayed 24 hours because another train derailed on the tracks. So we had to go back into Albuquerque and like spend another night. And we just kicked it off talking about our parallel paths of vagabond gardening and trying getting into meditating and now doing this Vipassana. We played music for the train. We bounced around Albuquerque, just like smoked a little pot. And on our way to Joshua Tree, when the train kicked back up, we kissed for the first time and just began this relationship that is even now unfolding. But it was so hard because 3 days after meeting her, I was going into like total deprivation from everything. So yeah, as soon as the 10 days got out, like I hitchhiked up to her and we spent the next 3 days together falling in love. And then she went for her 10-day and then it's a whole spiral story, but yeah.
That's really beautiful. I mean, that sounds like very synchronistic. And
Yeah.
I think my last partner, he and I were spiritually connected, even though our spirituality is very different. He wasn't really a meditator, although he performed meditation and he performed levitation.
Levitation.
Yeah, but it was actually a magic trick.
Oh, cool.
But I won't reveal that, even though we're not together anymore.
Can't do that.
But yeah, we were spiritually connected because he has a spirituality, and he actually, as part of his performance, makes the crowd ohm together.
Cool.
Yeah, and so he's like, if everybody ohms together, then we can kind of meditate on world peace. And I was really attracted to that. I was like, oh my God, someone with a spiritual consciousness, yay! And so from that partner forward, I really am kind of committed to being with someone who has a spiritual consciousness of some kind, because it does create a mindful relationship that I really only desire.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult for them to understand what I do, probably because because Tantra is such a spiritual practice, and now I actually my current practice, and I'll ask you this afterwards. I meditate for an hour in the morning when I wake up. And I haven't gotten a meditation pillow yet because I actually just got back to LA, but I'm going to set up, I have a little altar and everything. And just, it has to be quiet and I have to be undisturbed and things like that. So if people are not going to give me space for that, then they're not going to understand that. And also during sex, it's very sacred sex. So I don't really want to have and you do have regular sex when you're when you're in a relationship with a tantrika. You still have, you still fuck and stuff like that, but you do have a lot of sacred sex. And so if people are not on the same page as really honoring God goddess within you and seeing that lovemaking is sacred, then it's really hard for me to spend time and give my body temple to this person. I actually have still not gotten laid since I broke up with this person because I really still regard my body temple as sacred, and I'm holding out for someone that's going to be qualified, that's worthy of entering my temple.
Entering your temple.
No, and I've actually had so many offers to do that, and I probably if this person didn't flake, there's different things that also kind of turn these different people away, but yeah, it's I'm not in a hurry. It's fine, But spirituality and relationship are huge for me. And so I can totally resonate with your relationship. I think that's magical. I think that I would love for any partner that I'm with to go on a Vipassana meditation. Probably not with me, but, after me or some other time.
Sure. Oh, you're lagging there.
I said, I think that would ultimately make your relationship stronger.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that for sure. Yeah.
What else can we talk about? Let's see. We talked about masturbation. We talked about what else came up for you? What ways did you cut corners? Can you talk about that?
So I'm a Capricorn, so I have a lot of discipline, and my intention going into this was I'm not really going to cut corners. I'm going to give this my fair trial. I'm going to see if this is something I want to do. I'm going to go full in. And I can really honestly say that I was a pretty good boy. I hardly cheated. The most I ever cheated was bringing tea into my room. Just taking 10 cookies one day. And
you guys had cookies? We didn't have any cookies.
You didn't have cookies?
No,
well,
no cookies.
Kelseyville does not have the best kitchen, that's for sure.
Kelseyville does not have any cookies.
No cookies in Kelseyville, sorry. But
I was to go to Joshua Tree.
I was pretty Joshua Tree. Oh my god, so good. But
yeah, there's no sugar. Oh, they would make little vegan cakes 2 out of the 10 days. They had some different cakes and some little chocolate balls with nuts.
Yeah, well, most centers
not even carb, whatever, vegan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, most centers actually do give you sweet treats to help you move through. Kelseyville is an exception because it's more of a campground than a center.
Ah.
For that reason, there's a lot of appeal to it. I really want to sit in Kelseyville. Yeah,
it is like a camp. Totally.
Yeah.
It's in the forest and beautiful eucalyptus trees. There's robins singing every morning. It's beautiful land.
Yeah, sounds so nice. But yeah, if you want something a little more comfortable, there are those as well. You can get very comfortable in Vipassana. That does not mean that you'll be without pain or suffering or sadness, but you'll be comfortable.
I felt it was hard. I mean, we had the same orange apples and bananas every night at 5 o'clock. Did you have that?
Oh yeah.
And they were frozen, so they weren't even soft.
That's weird. That was a Kelseyville thing. They should not be frozen.
Yeah, they were cold, and so then it's these cold ass apples, and so I'm just that was when my depression would kick in around 5 o'clock because I'm just oh God, if I have to eat another frozen banana, and I'm just shoving it in my mouth because I know that I'm gonna need a meal, right? So that's why returning meditators, they are not allowed to eat the fruit. They have to just drink tea with no milk in it, just pure tea. So you're basically not having a third meal. And so I now qualify as a continuing student, having completed a 10-day. And now and I like how, each challenge gets upgraded so that I know that the next time I go back, I'm not going to even have a dinner.
Yeah. And only if you don't want a dinner. Really, it's a strong encouragement because all of these rules are here to support and serve you. Every single one of these weird rules, we should say for the viewers, are really in your best interest, and they're time tested over 2,000 years. They're all strong invitations. If you talk to them and say my blood sugar is so low, I need to eat a meal, they will say, well, you know, you are a free person. This is how we do it. This is the encouragement. You may have a meal. And in every sit, there's probably like a handful of returning meditators that will have a dinner. And no judgment, but you find that as a returning student, not having that last meal is so in your best interest. You stay light, you're able to work in the subtle realms. Your subconscious stuff it doesn't go back down in sleep. It is fresh to be worked on in the morning, and that's the purpose of it. It is hard. It's hard.
You found that you weren't hungry.
You're hungry for the first 3 days, but you observe your sensation, right? I mean, and then the hunger disappears, just like the pain you're going through. Physical pain, you know, you'll observe it for, like, I was going through intense back pain my 10-day set the entire time, and it got so bad. And then up to day 6, I was like, I'm not gonna fight this pain anymore. I'm just gonna be with it. I'm just gonna surrender to it. I'm just gonna allow it to be. And that's when I actually had my breakthrough experience, when I had, like, you know, full streaming subtle sensations through my body. And that's the lesson, is that we can, you know, experience all these things in life, but if we don't resist them, they can be just sensation, you know, just passing sensation, just an impermanent sensation. And the same thing was with the hunger, I'd say, for sure. You can do it. You can do it.
I can do anything.
You can do anything. That's what.
Talk about you. You did a serving duty where you do get to eat a full meal, 3 full meals, and so when is it that you did fast or not eat a 3rd meal, and when is it that you did, or what program? Serving? Yeah, which program were you not eating a 3rd meal?
Oh, yeah, I did a month of service in North Fork. 5 months after my 10-day, and was encouraged to eat 3 meals there. During that month service, I sat a 3-day intensive where I didn't have a 3rd meal, and it was actually crazy. After serving for 10 days and meditating about 5 or 6, or serving for 27 days, meditating 6-7 hours a day. I was meditating very hard in a cell, just like going very deep, deeper than my 10-day experience easily. Then I sat a 3-day. And that 3-day it completely blasted me open. And that's when I wasn't eating. So I guess that's when I was able to, or eating the 3rd meal. So that's when I got to experience that. But yeah.
I'm really interested in what motivates you to continue to go back, being such a young person who, you're telling me that you haven't really experienced any traumatic incidences, or you're not a survivor.
Oh no, I've had a lot of abuse. Trauma. A lot of trauma,
have? Okay.
A lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse. Not sexual, thank God. So blessed. But yeah, no, my thought. I mean, yeah, I was kicked out of my house at 17. My mom left when we were 14, and there's been a host of abuse surrounding that. And I smile when I say it. I'm looking at my image and I see that I smile, because that has been the catalyst to finding ways to empower and enliven and enrich myself. Such as doing this work. So, yeah. Okay,
so then that would be your motivation for having a spiritual journey at such an early age, would you say?
Yeah, my motivation, I guess, is just, it works. I mean, like, yeah, what is even the spiritual journey? These are amazing resources that have just opened me up further and further and helped me to be a more loving and whole and feeling being. And I have a lot of fear, sure, but I'd never really let the fear stop me from things that enrich and better me. That's one thing I can truly say I've integrated. So I do it because it helps me, yeah. And that's way more than Vipassana. I haven't gone to Vipassana in a while, but I've done a host of other intensives and continue to practice every morning and night.
Oh, you do? How often do you meditate every day?
It's more organic at this point, and you go in ebbs and flows. Sometimes you really need the structure and the regimen to ground you in a practice. I don't need that so much right now. But every morning I sing for 45 minutes to an hour. Devotional singing is my practice right now. I'm working with a lot of writing, so I'll do single pointed writing, and then I'll usually do an hour of sitting meditation or qigong at night. But I've gone through so many waves of different modalities, and that just happens to be my path. You got to be careful with spreading your eggs in too many baskets. It's really good to experience a lot of techniques, but it's as far as most people go, it is so much more beneficial to just tune into one practice and devote yourself to one path.
That is what they encourage when they ask you to stop doing your chanting and your mantras and not bring in your prayers and not your Bible or whatever it is that you bring in, and to just give Vipassana in its purest form a chance. And what I snuck in was heart chakra mantras because the pain was so much for me that I had to bring in love. And even though that he talks about love, like, oh, this is about love, this is about being happy, I was like, I can't find it unless I tell myself I love you,
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I had to give myself strength and look myself in the mirror and say, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Yes.
And that's not in there, and I can't. And I'm actually, like cutting. That's what works for me. Yeah. I'm a love goddess. I work. Yes. I'm a love worker. I share my love with people for a living. That's what I do, including myself. I don't deprive myself of actual verbal, physical love. And having to deal with a breakup, I really, worked on self-love. Nice. And that replacing this person telling me I love you and telling myself I love you and actually putting my hands on my heart. Yes. And that is that will super soothe me any day, so these are just tools that I came in with that I'm not supposed to add to the pure Vipassana technique, but I'm telling you that I just, these are the things that I have cut and pasted with, and I just couldn't do it, I took away my marijuana, I took away, all my mantras and things like that, but telling myself that I loved you and just different affirmations, like you can do this, and, it was hard for me. It wasn't easy. I was just like, I can do this another day. So I'm sitting there eating a frozen banana. I'm going, oh God, 5 more days. I can do this. I can do this. Come on. You'll be so relieved when you get out. You're going to feel so great. You're going to be so amazing. You're going to be so different.
Right. Just one more day. Just one more day. One more sit. Another hour. Totally. Just do another hour.
Yeah, and then they freaked us out because day 10 is really easy. You get to talk, and you basically, it's like the last day of school. You get better food, and you meditate for 3 hours. You do 3 sittings of an hour, but they just breeze right by, and it doesn't even seem enough, So you're really meditating for 9 days. So that's what I tell people. I'm like, you're really silently meditating for 9 days, but they don't tell you that. You just tell yourself that it's 10 so you can get through 10.
True.
But honestly, you're only doing it deeply for 9.
Totally.
But on the 8th day, they say, okay, you're actually not going to be dismissed from here until 10 a.m. on day 11. And you're actually going to do more meditating at 4:30 in the morning on day 11. And I just started crying at that point. I'm like, oh God!
It's a tough one. After your day 10,
at day 9, they said, now you have to push it forward to another half day, day 11. I'm like, no, please, God. I'm just true. I was totally counting the days. They have a cleaning chart in our room, and I'm putting X's on the days.
Oh, man. You're taking me back. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so I put X's on the days, and I'm all X, 8, 9, 10. And then when they said, okay, we're not going to dismiss you until day 11, then I'm like, oh God, tears. Right. But little did I know at that time that day 10 was the easiest day.
It is. Yeah, it's really fun. I described it as I felt like I was on social crack after being deprived for 9 days. I was just your experience with my experience, and oh my God, or it's really fun. Yeah.
Did you like the people that you were surrounded by? Can you talk about anybody that you met or any friendships that you formed?
They're still so real. I keep in contact with so many of them, and after every experience I have, I actually create a Facebook group, and I invite everyone so we can keep in touch. I call them Vipassana cohorts, and we're able to track each other's lives. And yeah, just people that are clear reflections, people that live such a different life, but you're able to connect through heart. I love pretty much everyone, truly. Yeah. Everyone's there.
I hope that you share this video with those Facebook groups, actually.
It's a great idea. It's a totally great idea.
You should have invited them to this, actually, so we'd have more than 2 viewers. Yeah, I met some amazing women who had published books. There was a woman who was 7.5 months pregnant in our cohort.
Wow.
She wasn't eating. Oh, she got to eat a third meal. She got to eat dinner,
Mm,
like a
that's
hot
good.
meal. But
You're pregnant, yeah.
it was always interesting because you think that pregnancy is so hard as it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like really amazing to see some, you know, like you're not supposed to compare your struggle with other people, but like
You
while I'm,
do. We're human.
yeah, you definitely do. While
We
I'm
do.
cramping up with my menstruation, I'm like, well, I could be pregnant.
Right.
So I might as well, you know, like just, you know, minimize my suffering a little bit and just like deal with this because it's not that bad. I could have a baby kicking inside me.
Some perspective there, for sure.
But she was like, she said it wasn't that hard, as hard as other people perceived it to be, I guess, because the nausea and the pain. Um, to her, and she's able to eat her solid hot meal, and I'm like vicariously smelling it. I mean, smelling it.
I'm frozen here.
Yeah.
I don't know about you,
Can you
but
talk about anybody that you met that was interesting, or
I'm
that I
still.
was in the parking lot with that had a really nice, luxurious car?
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, so I think that's really interesting that people who are like wealthy have to share these bunk bed dorms with the rest of us.
Right.
So it attracts all different classes of people, which I love practices like
Oh
that.
yeah. All different sects, from 19-year-old hippies to like 92-year-old veterans. Yeah. Totally.
92, have you seen someone who's that old?
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know about that, but I'm sure it exists. I'm
Oh
sure it
yeah.
exists.
No, I saw there was one guy who's been doing it for like 30, 40 years, and he sat with Goenka in Nepal and the Nepalese mountains, and oh yeah, all sects of life. Yeah.
Who do you think that Vipassana is good for, and who would you like? You know, who do you think that like anybody who is going to watch this video afterwards? Who do you think should go, and who do you know who would you like to? Who would who do you think it would benefit, or like when you think about, you know, when you're having, you know, your jam sessions with your friends, you're like, oh, they ask you about it, and I already know, okay, this person, it would really help you. This person, I don't think you could do it, but I'll talk
Right.
about it, and if that seed is dropped, then great, you know.
And
Um,
that's the answer right there. It's really a personal question and a personal answer, and the most I can do is express how it's helped me, which is what others did, and that allowed me to ask myself, would this be good for me, and to answer that through myself. Um, but as far as like guiding that person on that question and answer process, like, do I want to get to the fundamentals of my being? Am I ready to let a lot of stuff go for a 10-day intensive? Um, do I need discipline? Like, could discipline help me? Um, do I really want to get grounded in the oldest meditative practice known to man, as far as we know? These are questions that can help in that guiding process, but it's really such a personal question and answer, and you can never do Vipassana and have a rich spiritual life. You really can't. For me, it's been essential because I've had such an intellectual upbringing that I needed to quiet everything down so that I can drop into more expansive modes of being. It was really essential to quiet the mind, to listen to the heart. So if others have that same foundation of being too intellectual, it can be an incredible practice for quieting that. Or if they're super reactive, it's great for getting over addiction, or attachment,
mm-hmm.
to relationships, to substances, to anything. So, but
Do you
really,
have
just
any experiences with that? I mean,
oh yeah, everyone's addicted to a lot of things. Um, yeah, I mean, I was smoking a lot of pot at the time, and I definitely like stopped smoking after. Um, I smoke occasionally now. But it was my attachment to my ex-girlfriend that it really helped me, get over, for sure. Hold on, I gotta plug in this laptop real quick for our last little 10 minutes. Sorry.
oh, okay. Yeah, so the impetus for me to go to Vipassana was my breakup, and also that I was breathing, I was meditating, I was focusing on my breath, but it was only through the breath of medicating with marijuana, and I was ready to unlearn that habit pattern, and without judgment. Not that I wouldn't occasionally, like, smoke pot right now if you pass me a joint. I think it's great recreationally, but to have a medical prescription for depression and anxiety, and feeling like I really was sad, and I was really craving, my ex a lot,
Yeah.
because we were really in love before we broke up.
Right.
And so it was just kind of like this relationship that wasn't compatible, could not be. And so it was kind of like this very abrupt kind of like,
Right.
and so it was really, really difficult for me. And there was a lot of craving and a lot of longing and sadness. So just
Aw.
waking up and like smoking pot and throughout the entire day. And like
Right.
when you do that, actually, just like with any drug, when you do anything in excess, you're not actually getting high
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I realized that, it's like I'm not, and it doesn't take away the sadness. The sadness is still there always. And also, the way that I got my graduate degree was by smoking copious amounts of weed. um, and graduate school was so traumatic for me, and it brought up so many issues, like learning how to be a high school teacher in the hood for the first time, and having, a lot of verbal abuse from, teenagers who you're supposed to be so in service to and you're devoting your life to, which is really traumatic for me. I was just like, like a lot of tears, a lot of pain. But to stuff down that pain and get my master's degree, I smoked a lot of pot. And for me, the way that I cope with the overwhelm of life is by smoking marijuana. It has always been that way. I've been smoking that way since I was 22.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to, and then discovering spirit and learning tantra and meditation. The other, like lighter forms of meditation was my beginning of like finding other ways to solve those problems. Because, being a trauma survivor, having sexual violence and things like that, I use mantras and all these different things, mudras, like different hand positions, different hand positions, and all of that stuff. I actually, they're all useful. I actually got attacked
They
by a
are.
dog after I got out of Vipassana.
Whoa.
And sitting down and doing the life mudra and just meditating and bringing the pain out of the dog bite into my hands and my fingers, I'm really glad that I have that spiritual tool to do that.
Mm.
So I wasn't doing Vipassana, I was doing mudras, I was doing different tools, and also I have just like different ways that I meditate, different things. And I have smoked pot a couple times, many times, like I just didn't want to use it as an antidepressant.
Mm-mm.
I didn't want to be on any antidepressants. And so that was what I was going to Vipassana for. And I feel like it's helped with that.
Cool. More moderation.
More moderation, and I don't have longing for my ex anymore.
That's huge.
That's huge. It's huge.
It's
It's
like,
huge. It's great. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, but that person is not around. Like he will come back from tour and pop up in my life, and I would like to hope to say that I'll be strong enough to resist any temptation to go back to my old habit patterns. But we're human, and we never know, But I would like to. I mean, everything is subtle, so it's not like, oh, I mean, maybe I am a changed person and we're always changing every moment, every day. But because I didn't come out the gate going, oh, I'm such a different person, like it was really subtle. I was like, okay, everything was overwhelming, actually. People talking,
yeah,
went to a restaurant. Oh my God, I have to go back.
intense. Lock me up.
You're used, yeah, you're not used to all that stimulation. It was really hard. I was like, whoa. I imagined when I was in the 10-day, because I have a little roach in my my ashtray, I was like, I'm going to smoke all the way. Like, I'm going to be like, I made it, right? And I did it. I waited a day.
Cool.
And when I did wait a day, I only did 2 puffs. And when I did, it was like, like holy shit. Like, it was like a lot for my body, because your brain chemistry radically changes when you're in there. And it doesn't take too long.
No, it doesn't. This is the funny thing.
Can you talk about when you first get out, and what kind of changes, how, I mean, are you a different person, or like what, I mean, you've gone back several times, so.
Yeah, and I do like to affirm that I'm a different person in each moment. even if I
Mm-hmm.
can't feel it. You know, everything's impermanent, everything's changing moment to moment to moment. It is more recognizable for me after doing Vipassana that, wow, I left stuff behind, you know. Um, but really, it's just, you know, it's coming. It's not that you're changing into a different person. You're just remembering the true person that you are. You know, the child's God self that you are is language that people use. But yeah, you got to take it easy to integrate all that stuff, whatever's coming through you. You got to take it easy and not go just like whew, into the world, which is the trap or the mistake. The It's what we all do. Everyone does it to an extent. We all want to go home to our families and like show them our, you know, our true selves, see how strong we are. We want to go out to a fancy restaurant. We're ready to go into Berkeley or San Fran or LA or Seattle, and it's intense. It's really intense to come out of this jail, you know, this cell back into the world, and that it's a great test though at the same time to see really what did I truly let go of, and what do I still have to work on? What do I still get to work on? But yeah, I always feel different. Totally. Yeah.
I think what was surprising to me was like things were subtle, and I waited a little while I integrated very slowly. So I didn't like smoke
Good.
as soon as I got out the door. I didn't masturbate as soon as I got home. You know,
Hey.
it was like you know, subtle.
Yeah. And everyone's experiences are different.
Yeah, no, some people will do it, you know, but it's so funny because I imagined it that way. In my meditation, those visions came up. I was like, oh my God, can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
just get through this next 24 hours. Oh my gosh, can't wait.
Totally.
So what is your next move? When is
My
your
next move. Well, I'm in Eugene, Oregon right now. I just came back from 4 months on the islands, 2 months on the Big Island, 2 months
wow.
on Kauai. And my lesson right now is really empowerment, and it's filling myself up with life energy, life force, creative force. Vipassana I describe as more of an emptying. You're emptying yourself of a lot of the shit. I've been pretty empty
Mhm.
for a while now, and I'm in a point where I'm ready to build myself back up with a lot of creative juices. So that's what I'm doing right now, with a lot of singing, a lot of writing, a lot of biking, and I'm going to go to a poetry slam tonight. It's after an ecstatic dance, which will be really cool. And it's actually part of a deeper intestinal healing that I'm doing in my belly, because I picked up some bacteria while on the islands,
Oh
and
no.
it's extremely energetic. It's all related to these issues of empowerment and creativity. And so by being a creative child, I'm really healing myself on a physical level. And that's not new age jargon. It's like so tangibly true for me. It's a personal truth for me. And I'm going to be doing that for the next 3 or 4 weeks. And then I'll go back to Kauai and do some work with my girlfriend, who is in Kauai right now, my partner.
What kind of work do you do? What do you call work?
We'll be doing some farm work,
I
some
see.
garden work, you
Okay.
know. Yeah. If
Nice.
anyone is in Kauai, or anyway, it's Kilauea on Kauai, the town of Kilauea, a wonderful place on the North Shore. Really stoked to swim with dolphins.
Wow. Maybe I should talk to you about that because I want to go to Hawaii.
Go
I
to
want
Hawaii. Do it.
Yeah, you know, money is a big factor for me. And so I want to manifest more money in my life always. And that's been one of my journeys, one of the things that I've been working very hard on. And that's part of the reason why I feel like spiritual crisis, because it's like, oh, do all these chants and manifest money and burn money and things like that, and think abundantly and all of that stuff. And I'm like, but I'm still cash poor. So I don't understand that, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's working with that wound of scarcity, for sure.
So
Yeah.
trying to have this abundant mindset, but having to deal with the reality of scarcity. And so that's why I like Vipassana, because you can be totally, you know, cash poor and still go. There's no monetary excuse for you not to go. You get fed, you get housed in nice places. I mean, it's not the Hilton, you know, but you're not on the streets, and you're given, you know, this opportunity to grow, and hopefully that will help you to manifest more financial abundance afterwards. And I'm hoping that it will do that for me. The whole time I was meditating on working harder and working smarter, and being more motivated. That's kind of what I came out of there with. I have one more year in my 30s, and I'm just really working on.
Wow.
I know it's going by fast. I feel like in 10 days, 10 days actually does go by fast. It doesn't
It
like
does.
it's long, but it's short. The days
Just
are
time
long.
dissolves, basically. It's like,
The days are really long, but the days are really short, right? It's like really weird.
it's really
Because we're
trippy.
like, holy, it's already day 5. How did that happen?
Right.
But then again, it drags on because you're like, oh my God, another 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to live this next year of my life and really trying to achieve as much as I can, um, and try to work smarter. And I think that Vipassana is a good way for everybody to work smarter because it's the opportunity that it's one of the. I mean, there are many opportunities if you look for them that don't have money as a barrier, and I love that because a lot of the spiritual things that I've, like tantra workshops, they all cost money. Tantric life coaches, oh yeah, you can make more money as a tantra teacher if you pay me $2,000. You can go to this conference if you have $1,200. You can go to this workshop and learn this technique if you have $1,500. So that's been really frustrating for me in my practice, just having money barriers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really grateful that that was not. I donated $100 for the 10 days that, and
Cool.
it's definitely worth more than that. But it was like, you can donate whatever you want, and you're paying it forward for the next person. And I do hope certainly that the guy with the nice car, the $100,000 car behind me, like they're gonna, help pay forward for other people who are less fortunate.
And they do, which is how it runs. But the greatest donation is service, you know.
Yeah, you've actually done another seed dropping and motivated me to be of service to, because I'm like, okay, that sounds like something that I can do.
You can.
Because yeah, and I also they have a children's camp, and
Oh
I have
yeah.
a teaching degree to teach children. I think that in this lifestyle, obviously those kids are being. Um, I'm definitely all about the mindful generation, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that if I could help be of service to that generation, it would be the best. Okay, we're about to close our webinar. Do you have any last thoughts or any things that you want to add to this video, which is going to be saved on YouTube and broadcast and shared? I'm going to share it widely. So,
Vipassana is an incredible technique. It works. It's there for you if and when you need it. You know, it's not something you have to rush into. It'll always be there. You don't ever have to do it. But if you do it, in my experience, if you do it correctly, if you do it according to the tradition, it will work. So it's a wonderful path. Yeah.
and I think that how it works is so different for everybody, but it definitely does work, whatever that is. If you
Right.
go through the whole 10 days, you're going to work through something. It's
Yeah.
pretty hard to not work through something that's bothering you in life in those 100 hours.
Yeah. If you, it's
And
basically just
every one of us has work to do, right? So
yeah.
um, you would actually have to work to not have it work.
Yeah.
And that would
Right.
be like mad cheating on yourself, right? Oh, I'm not meditating when I'm supposed to be, or I'm taking drugs while I'm supposed to be meditating, or something like that. Then you would have to
Right.
be actively cheating. And I really think that just the schedule and the website really deters those type of people, because I've talked about it and they're like, "You're so crazy. That is crazy. I could never do that."
Mm.
And in fact, when you came in my car, I was like, "Yeah, that's nice. I could never do that."
I was like bullshit. Like I
I'm
don't
not.
believe that.
I think I might have said I'm not ready, and
You
I
did say
wasn't.
that.
I'm not ready. Maybe someday. Yeah. And I think that someday finally came, and so that was that day. And I'm
Right.
happy that I'm still in touch with you, and we're able to have this meeting. It's a blessing, and I'm really I'm really blessed to still have you in my life and on my Facebook and everything. And I look forward to, continuing to be your friend and in your life.
Aw, that's so sweet. It really has been a wonderfully woven journey with you from afar and in your car. And I'm really
Maybe
proud
we'll
of
go
your.
somewhere else together.
It'll happen. I saw you at Shakti Fest for a minute. I never said hi.
Oh yeah, I was only there for a day, so interesting that you saw me there.
Yeah. But
You
yeah,
should get into kirtan chanting, because
I
that
am deeply.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do that. I do it as